Hole here on Sunday night, September 1st, 2024. With me tonight is Professor Canuck. And maybe he's the little robot that, whatever that dude's name was, that carried around his neck. But anyway, he's here with us. And the others have wimped out because they don't know what we're talking about. And I don't know that we do either, but we're going to try. We're going to try and talk a little bit about what is Nick Zentner has been talking about here in the West, precursor to the current desire in November to do a 26 series of the Cascade volcanoes. And the prequel is what we've been watching, and it's just been, pretty darn phenomenal. Dealing with, 115, 120 MA all the way down to 45 MA, and how the whole West and a major part of Canada, included in that West, in the Western United States, and even maybe a little in Mexico too, but not so much emphasis down there, but how it all come together. Now, I'm going to pepper Canuck with a lot of things because he has a photographic memory, and I don't. And we're going to try and regurgitate what's been said over the last, 5 or 6 weeks, and regarding the West and how it formulated. And it's going to bring in some Baja to BC and some Chalice magmas and some, tearing of the subducting plates and subducting triple junctions and a lot of the stuff. So hopefully we can do it justice from what we remember and what we've seen. We just saw Basil Tikoff, give us a lot of great information, try to put it in perspective. Again, this is just stuff that we are gleaning, trying to synthesize. Let's try to say that word. Synthesize. Is that right? No, synthesize. Bring it together and make it simple. But it's not. It's complicated as all get up. Why do we do this? I mean, why is it important to you, Canuck, to this whole portion of the West? Why do you think Nick thinks it's important? And then why do you think it's helpful to, kind of look at that sort of thing?
Well, I think what he's trying to do is figure out where all the magma breakthroughs came from to create all the bathyliths or wherever magma came up to make all the stuff. So it's not just as simple as the Yellowstone hotspot, right?
Yeah, I don't think he's really kind of mentioned the Yellowstone hotspot, has he?
No. Because I think he realizes that that's not the major player, unless there's a whole bunch of other hotspot tracks that we don't know about.
Right.
Then you'd have to incorporate them in too. But
right.
And they've only tracked the Yellowstone hotspot back 58 million years. So, once you go beyond that,
well, yeah, they make a lot of assumptions, don't they? In dealing with the Yellowstone, that 58 million years ago it was off California. Am I right?
Yeah.
So
that's how far the latest study goes back.
Right.
And in that study, it says it's what was out there making Silesia, but I don't know. I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah. So I think in a generic term here, I'll try to grab an image that's not too old. I think primarily they're talking about somewhere between 185 million or even 115. I'm looking at these. Supposedly, Silesia crashed at 55 to 50, somewhere here, right up in the Pacific Northwest. And when it crashed up against North America, everything stopped. Baja to BC stopped. Everything stopped. And according to what these guys are saying. So, do I have it lower than that? Yeah. So basically, let me see. I'm going to share this image with you. This will be 50. Yeah, 50. 50 million years ago. And yeah, this is 50 million years ago. It's what North America looked like 50 million years ago. You can see on the left as I blow it up. Wait, I better find it first. Yeah. Put it over here. I'll blow it up here for you. You can see this is another triple junction out here 50 million years ago. And I'm assuming that this is the Farallon plate. And this is the Pacific plate. But this could be the Mendocino down here below where Baja is. I think that's more true. That thing now is right there, and this thing right here is way the hell up there. But it's really bad.
Light's just dimmed here. That's not good.
Uh-oh.
Don't know why I'd be doing that.
You didn't pay your bill?
No, it's not windy or anything. It's raining.
All right. Well,
as long as the power doesn't go off.
Right. This is 60 million years. And we're going back in time. You can see what happens right up in here. You see this is kind of interesting offshore. This is 60. This is 65. You can see the closing of the interior, that the ocean kind of went all the way through. When you see this kind of map, it's in our chat there, bud. When you see this kind of thing here, I can go earlier. What day? 65, 75 million years ago. They're talking about, North America, right? Well, North America's up here. That's Laurentia. This is not Laurentia. Or is it? With an inland sea? I wonder if all that smashing and all that stuff, it's really this thing that's smashing into it.
Or the stuff smashing into it lifted it up, so all the water.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it drained the, Well, I'm looking at Utah. Utah in this image. This is Nevada. This is Utah right here.
Stuff was smashing into it for a long time.
Yeah. Or Utah's right here.
If you go all the way back to Gaia Chan and Mescalera.
Right. That's 85. That's 85. 85A. There's 100 million years. 115. And it's frozen, I guess. Were we frozen at 120? Well, that's 126K. 130 million years. Here's all Rangelia and all that. In the intermontane and the intermontane and the other one. I forget what the
Insular. Insular, then intermontane, then.
Right.
Silesia.
All right. And I have an image to hide here. Is it this one? It might be that one. No.
But to me, there were a bunch of oceanic plates between all those things.
Right.
That I'm not sure we've identified them all yet.
That's true. Yeah, they say the resurrection died somewhere between 56 and 47. That's when Silesia smacked in. So Silesia was on the resurrection.
Yeah. And they're trying to come up with reasons why a plate broke. I think it was already broken anyway because it was a separate oceanic plate. It came in and went under.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Like the Kula and that. Yeah.
Well, in the example I used, like what I told you on the phone, I said, well, it's like the JDF now. You have a little plate at the top of it. The Explorer plate is a separate plate, and you have the Gorda plate at the bottom, a little tiny plate that's already broken, because that's why they classify it as plate. Well, they're going to subduct, but eventually it's going to be down in the mantle, and it's just going to be a little tiny thing that's hard to identify, right?
Right.
Compared to the bigger JDF plate. And you can use that example all over because in Indo, there's so many other different oceanic plates because you got the Banda Sea plate, you got the Molucca Sea plate, all those ones that are eventually all going to be subducted are all like separate oceanic plates that when they go down into the mantle, they'll show up as another plate with the mantle tomography. And same like the Bismarck Sea plate and the Banda Sea plate and all those, eventually they'll all be subducted and be added. The islands that are there will be all added on to Australia.
Yeah, this is image of a three-dimensional diagram of tomographic cross-section of North America. The mantle intersecting the Mendocino triple junction. Digital elevation topography shows that Earth's surface. So basically, this is the whole thing that everybody's going, whoa, there's stuff down there. So things are happening and we got to know what the hell's happening. And these are ideas and this is what we're thinking because of what's happened on the West Coast and why is this happening and everything. And it's these items that are in the lithosphere, which is probably way up here, but this is in the lower mantle. And they're wondering how they got there and what did they mean. So there's several different ones, and the current one is right here. It looks like a big turd. You know, when they stretch it out, they say, okay, well, it's this thick and it's, you know, pull it out there. And it's a lot of assumptions. And these assumptions is what we're talking about most of the time. How was the United States and Canada and Mexico put together from the previous image, you know? And this, again, is 130 million years ago. You see a bunch of islands out there. And there's the snow ones here. Whoa, what the hell just happened? Oh, no, don't do that. Exit slideshow. I didn't want that. This is 115 million years ago. And obviously this is frozen. But these islands out here smashed into North America. These islands smashed into North America. And as North America was coming down and these were going up, there's a... and you really don't know where it started. And these guys don't either. But there's an assumption that somewhere down here where the Mendocino was at 115, Mendocino was way down here then. Way down here in Baja area, is all the way up to here in that 115, some 1,200 miles thereabouts. And, or maybe even more, maybe 2,000 miles. I think it's a total of 3,500 miles from where the bottom of Baja all the way to Wrangell up in Alaska. 3,500 miles. that a large portion of the West was won by accreting at least two major accretions to North America. Rangelia and Silesia were parts of those. The intermontane and insular, was that what that's what it's called again?
Yeah. So it went insular, then intermontane, then Silesia. So what we're focusing on, or what Nick is focusing on, is basically between intermontane and Silesia coming in, basically.
Right. And
that's what he's trying to figure out right now.
Right.
So he's trying to do the latest first, or the last thing to smash in.
Right. And this image here is not showing you Silesia smashing in somewhere right there at 50 million years, because it already did it. At 60, it's not there even. Maybe that's it right there. Yeah, that's got to be it right there. That's Silesia smacking in to North America, creating. Well, from what I read today.
Well, Basil basically said it went in the hole, but
yeah,
the hole was made from the other stuff smashing in the big gigantic arrow shape. Right.
Right.
The first stuff smashing in was the big gigantic arrow shape. That my theory is what made the Intermountain seismic zone.
Yeah, a wedge. You're saying it's kind of like a wedge.
Yeah. Well, it was like an arrow crashing into a straight coastline.
Right.
And that's probably what made all the big mountains. And then you had the intermontane train coming in behind that.
Right. So Canuck is saying that there was this kind of shaped echelon that came in somewhere between, and you can tell this is Vancouver and the like. Vancouver's, don't just ignore it. I just wanted to tell you kind of what he's saying, that this kind of edge came into North American as it did.
Yeah, but it's way big, because it goes all the way from Mexico to pretty much Alaska. That big first thing that came in, whenever it was, 180, 200, whatever. Right.
And that's kind of what our arguments have been about. Not like we're not arguing with each other. Yeah. We're saying that these items out here that are 115, this is the same time period when the Sierra Nevadas were being made. So there's subduction in here, there's rifting in here, and Basil said that he's pretty confident that the rift that is the Wabash, I think it is, that's the only rift that came in that because of it being so thick. The continent that came in, or whatever it was so thick that's why it still persists. And that's through, Salt Lake City and the like, all the way over to California. And we see that often in the earthquakes that we perceive. And I'll share that too for you.
Well, the intermountain seismic zone, which is basically the Wasatch, and then
Wasatch, not Wabash. Wasatch.
Yeah, the faults that come down the opposite way, like Hurricane Fault, and all those other ones that come down like that, they're all in like a big gigantic arrow shape.
Right. So this is what he's talking about here. I think I've got it online here. Yeah, share this on screen. So this 30 days of earthquakes coming down the Wasatch, right? Wabash is over here. Wasatch here. It's a W. It gets me confused. Sorry. But this is where the rift existed. And the rift is really deep because it's in the continent now. And this is the edge of, to me, it's the edge of the intermontane or the insular. Insular's on the inside, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that means the border of the North America was at one time right here. And as we see some of these other images, like right here, you can see that's about where, or like right about, it's west of, right in here, right about this line right here. This is the edge of North America. And that edge, that's what we're seeing where the earthquakes are happening right now. From Idaho Falls and where Yellowstone is right now, which is right about right there. That way south, we can see all the way down here into California. We can see where the earthquakes are going through Great Salt Lake and all that. That's the Wasatch Fault. And that's on this end of it. And I think, I wish.
Well, it's probably 10 all the way down through Wasatch from the top.
Yeah, they talked
and then
about
all the other ones down the other one.
Yeah, during Baja to BC, they thought the Tintina is major fault, and it's up there, and they ruled it out being part of Baja to BC. But I'm not convinced at anything at all. What opened up this sea? I think that's wild, and that's what we should be, questioning. What opened this open sea up? I can go back. Here's 126, 130. It's not there. There's the beginning, right? 140. There's still this inland sea, and there's Montana right here. You can see, right? Here's all this exterior. Here's all that stuff that gets thrown up here. And
well, something had to lift it up.
Yeah.
For the inland sea to disappear.
Yeah. So this is 150 million years looking at this right now. So, okay, this is prior to the volcanic arc of the Sierra Nevadas in California, prior to the Cascades. Cascades is 44 to 36 MA. The Sierra Nevadas are 125 down to probably 95 MA, or even maybe 90 MA, somewhere in that range. And then they stop, producing us. Oh, did I lose you?
No, that was just my desktop making a noise.
Yeah. So, and looking at that, it's like, how do we take these kinds of images and understand them in lieu of what we've been learning, and what we've been learning through Basel? 140. All these islands are like way out there, right? He talks about it from right this point on, 100 million years ago.
Yeah, so that's what he was talking about in the video, right?
Right. There's the insular montane right on here, and the intermontane on here. So insular and intermontane, both of these. And then there's supposed to be an island arc out here, but they don't show it. And you can see all the way up here, the Alaskan one, because Alaska moves right over the top, right? And 185. See, all of a sudden from 100 down to 85, there's a big difference, except for this. So this is all solidified by 85. And there's 85. There's Alaska now all solidified. 75 down to 65. It's coming together. And at this time, these things are moving astronomically fast. 65 million years ago, 60 million years ago, 50 million years. That's when Silesia finally came ashore. And 40 is when the beginning of the Cascades. So everything's done except for the Cascades. And they've got triple junctions right here, coming in at, it looks like 40 to under 35 right there. And so this is a north of Farallon. That's either the resurrection at 25 million years ago or the Kula. And it's gone at 15 million. What's left of Farallon and then the resurrection, maybe? I don't know. And you can see the mountains, how they grow. Right? Like it's all deformed 3 million years ago. So a lot of this stuff is like, what the hell, man? And it's because there's all these different people talking. There's no consensus.
No, because they're given different names to each plate.
Correct.
Because the Canadians call it something different. Then the Americans call it something else.
And the stuff down below. That's where
the Mexicans are probably calling it something else. But we're not talking to them, so
I don't know why. They have a valid point. Hey, stuff's not happening down here, guys. You know, the Sierra Madre Occidental.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like the stuff that's in Arizona. You know, the Mongolian Rim, the San Francisco Plateau. It looks like that's part of Sierra, and it got pushed inward toward Colorado.
Well, there were some Mexican geologists there at that Penrose conference.
Yeah, the Penrose. I wanted to listen more to them.
At Idaho, but it never seemed to go any farther than that because there's never been any more. They haven't interviewed any more Mexican geologists since then. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah. And what if Wasatch, in all actuality, is Garlock? What if the deformation that we see, the push down, is due to the North America moving south, and you know the thing moving Pacific Plate moving north? What if that Wasatch is Garlock, because it goes right into that thing, right just north of Vegas? And
yeah, but Garlock, I think, is more east-west, but it's bent on the end because it's running into stuff there.
Right. Well, it ran into a deep, what do you call that? A thickening of the plate right there at what is it, Mount Whitney or whatever it is. I don't know if it's Mount Whitney. It's one of those mountains, big tall mountain. Yeah, Mount Whitney. That plate's super thick right there. So the Sierra Nevada is the southern part where Lake Isabella is bending toward the west, due to the, you know, and just south of the Sierra Nevadas there, that's Garlock. And on the interior side would be, you know, Mammoth down to Ridgecrest. But it doesn't seem that there's a connection through Death Valley and Panamint Valley for the Wasatch to break all the way through. But what would happen if it did? Wow. That would be far out. But I am seeing some movement for that way. I think Garlock is a pivot point for northern movement of southern land masses. Interesting.
Well, if Basil's saying that Baja BC had happened before Silesia smashed in.
Right.
What he was saying, right?
I clued in on that too, yeah.
So there had to be northward movement before that, moving the stuff before Silesia. So that means the other terrains that came in before, which what I think was doing that was Walker Lane. So it's been always ripping parts off of the edge of North America and trying to move it north. That's what I think. Which it's still doing now because that's what San Andreas is doing, right? So to the left of San Andreas, it's trying to grab stuff and rip it off and move it north.
Yeah, that's the Pacific Plate. San Andreas is the border between the North America proper now. And
yeah, but okay, I gotta explain this why I'm saying that better.
Go ahead.
So before Silesia came in, there was stuff going north because that's Baja, BC. Well, the only way that could happen if there was plates going north. So there's your Kula, because originally Kula was going north and is under Alaska, and Resurrection is under Yukon now, they say. But then there's all these other plates, slabs that they found down under there. And see, this is the issue because they're trying to name all them. So there's stuff coming in, but there's also stuff moving north at the same time, right? So it's crazy, crazy stuff. And I just think there was a whole bunch of plates in between, like Silesia, and in between Intermontane and Insular, that they either haven't found all the pieces to the plates yet, or they're just like little dinky small pieces that it's hard for them to identify in the mantle.
And that's all caught up in the slab window stuff, right?
Yeah, and like the Idaho slab, they're calling it the Idaho slab, but they really don't know what plate it belongs to, which is why Basil was calling it X plate. So he was just calling it X.
Right.
And then said, well, maybe it's part of Resurrection. But Spencer thinks the Resurrection was too far north to have anything to do with the Idaho slab. Well, and then if you go to the Canadian side, which that's Madsen and all the other people up in Canada, they think there was other plates besides that, which I don't want to get into now because it gets even more confusing. Because that's what that Eshimi plate is that they talk about.
Right, right.
So they found some evidence under Canada that there was another plate besides Resurrection. But anyway, we're not going to get into that now because it gets too confusing. But and this is what I say, right? There's just more. To me, you have to like study all the plates we currently have, and then study all the triple junctions, which I did it backwards when I did. I started with all the triple junctions that are currently, and then I learned all the plates off of that. So I did it backwards, like how they would normally teach it. Like if you were doing it in a geology course, they would do the plates, and then they would do triple junctions and all that other stuff after, which I think that's why it makes it all so confusing, because you're trying, it's all in how they name stuff, and that's what's confusing everybody. Because when you're first learning, it has to be right simple. But then once you get into it, you find out that there's not three big plates. It's not that simple, because they break them all down into different size pieces, and then you're creating more stuff, right? And that's what's because you're giving every little piece a different name. So that's why it gets so complicated. But maybe because I did it that way, it's easier for me to visualize it, because I started doing the triple junctions just with all the obvious plates, right? That are so obvious that everybody can see those. But then once I went into it and they said, oh, well, there's a microplate here to microplate here. Well, every time you add in a plate, you're creating another triple junction. So then you have to name another triple junction, right? And it's making more cracks between the plates. So it's just crazy stuff. But it's hard to visualize until you look at a place that has like a whole bunch of plates. And then it starts making more sense. Which Indonesia is the obvious example. And that's what the geophysicists use to explain what happened on the west coast of the States. Well, probably the east coast too, but I think the east coast was even more complicated because it was a crap load of a whole bunch of other islands. And they've given each of the islands like different names. And then they make them all into a train and put a whole bunch of islands together. So like Insular is more than one island, right? Or archipelago or whatever.
Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah. And then Intermontane is a whole bunch of different islands. While on the East Coast, they've named all the different terrains, but they're all like different island names that used to be out when stuff all smashed together to make Pangea. So it's just the same thing, just longer ago. That's the only difference.
Right. I'm having trouble with just this to go all the way back there, and there's no way for me.
Yeah. So it's crazy stuff. But it's basically like what's happened with all those islands in Indonesia smashed into Australia now.
Yeah. Let me see here. As we,
like if we went over there and studied all the plates, then it would probably make more sense because there's so many little tiny oceanic plates. But we'd have to do a whole like separate whatever hour or 2 hours on that. Because they have them all named, right? So you can go and study them. But what we're trying to do is recreate all these plates that were between all those islands that smashed into the west coast, and we don't know what to call them. So everybody's coming up with a name. Like they could call it Crazy Town Plate. Like you can you can make up any name you want for it, right? Once you see a slab of it down in the mantle, then you have to say, well, where does this one go back to, and what does this one connect to, or where was it here, or whatever. And then they argue over the names, or they can't agree on what to name it, or they say, well, this is a broke off piece of this. Well, maybe we don't know. Maybe it was already broken before, so it's a whole separate thing. So this is the issue. And like if you read Karen Siglot's stuff, they have different names for the plates than what, like I think in hers they were calling the Resurrection Plate Orcas Plate, which I don't know where they got. Which I don't know where they got orcas from, unless it was something to do with the whales off BC, I guess, in Washington, the orca whales.
Well, when it comes to Karen Siglot, she's got one main dude that she works with, and it's up to him to, I think, she's just a mathematician. She's not a geologist or a recreator, but she's, tomographer. She scans and understands all the data, and all the other stuff she's learned and gleaned from talking to this one guy.
Because I'm beginning to think now that the Cocos Plate, the Nazca Plate, and all those had nothing to do with Fairlawn at all. They just were always a separate plate. Because that seems to be what the mantle tomography is saying.
I think they're way too young.
Well, they were other plates that are subducting.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything in South America yet.
So that's what it is to me. Because if you read the stuff, it would say, oh, well, this is a broken piece of Fairmont, because everything's a broken piece of whatever the bigger name one is, whatever they want the bigger name to be. They'll say, well, it's all breakoffs of this one, which I don't think that's true. It was already...
You have one plate smashed into another, and then as the one's being pushed by, it's not that it broke apart, it's just that it created a rift. And as that rift, began to separate the two plates, one just kept going and the other one got stuck.
Yeah, well, if they were already apart in the first place, all that means is there's more cracks for magma to come up, which I think that's what's creating all these different plutons that they're trying to figure out.
Yeah,
and that's why they're all crazy ages, and they're saying, well, why does this one not match this one? And why is
the speed is all over the world? I mean, they're all over the place with the speed.
Yeah. And then the only other explanation for the newer stuff, because you haven't played the half an hour Goat Rocks one yet, but they were looking at the lava fields there by the Goat Rocks, and they were all 1 to 3 million years. So Nick was going, well, that's not matching anything. It's matching the other stuff that was way up somewhere else. And so he was saying, well, that doesn't make any sense. What was happening 1 to 3 million years ago, where the Goat Rocks was shooting out lava? So I don't know. Yeah, that's the one you haven't played yet. The one he had, the half an hour one where he was with
the girl.
The two people that are working on the project, because he went there with a bunch of them and a bunch of students. It was only like half an hour long. I haven't
done that one, yeah.
But what's odd about that is that 1 to 3 is the same time as the Chilcotin. up in BC because I've been studying the Chilcotin basalts up there when I got onto the landslide on the river.
Right. You think
So that seems weird to me, and they're debating if it was up there, the hot spot coming through causing that. Well, what hot spot was coming through 1 to 3 million years ago? Because Yellowstone would have been by already.
Yeah, it's already by. And you got stuff down in Arizona. You have stuff probably in Nevada and Utah, all erupting 1 to 3 million years ago, all the way over in New Mexico as well.
Yeah, and you had
years ago
the big super volcanoes at 30 mil. So what was going on with them at 30 mil? See, it doesn't. I don't know what to talk. Like there had to be some reason why all that magma was coming up, but there wasn't anything smashing into anything at 30 mil or at 1 to 3 mil. So,
yeah, I find it difficult for me to conceptualize the Farallon because of the Pacific. Kat says over time the San Andreas transform plate boundary has grown longer as the Farallon plate split into two separate plates. The timing doesn't work for that. The San Andreas is 25 million years old, and if you pull Mendocino 25 million years, it's about 400, 500 miles south of the position. Nowhere near the Cocos plate or the Nazca plate. It is the San Andreas, the boundary edge of the Pacific plate? Probably. But as being, she's got an article. Great. Yeah, that's just all right. Mid-Ocean Ridge. All right. Is that the EPR, the Mid-Ocean Ridge? Pacific plate on the eastern side of it. To me, it seems like the Pacific plate is way east, and it may have came out of the Atlantic Ridge.
Well, see what they're trying to do now is say there was a Farallon north and a Farallon south.
Yeah,
that's how they're trying to explain it, but I don't think that.
Yeah,
I think they were separate things altogether in the first place.
I mean, this is San Andreas fault. Yeah.
No, I haven't seen detailed mantle things for either Mexico or South America yet.
Right, I haven't either.
I'm assuming they're doing it or in the process.
Well,
like
the Cocos. They've done some of the Cocos, and that's where the Muscalera boundary is, in the southern boundary, and it goes into Mexico and Central America.
Well, I know the European group that SIGLOC is part of is going across the northern hemisphere, basically down to the equator, because they're under Myanmar now.
And Kat, this is all great, and that's part of the problem that I have with it all, is because the dates and the speed of the plates. I mean, you got to think the Kula plate, then probably the Resurrection plate, then the Farallon plate, then the Pacific plate, all moving due north. And when they smashed into something, the triple junctions came in, and Farallon moving at 60 degrees to the right, and Pacific plate moving 345 to the west, because of the triple junction up there. I don't know if there's enough time to create some of these things. Yeah, it's just another perspective. I got you. I'm not chiding you in the least. But I am challenging the different thoughts, because And I think that's part of the confusion, that plate tectonics is out there and there's new data coming in, and they're still trying to digest it and wondering what is down there. And then they take what's down there, which they don't know what it is. That's 150 to 200 kilometers down there. And they don't know what. Oh, and they say, oh, we roll it out and we just stretch it out, and this is where everything is. That's all conjecture. Because
and if you read all the crazy stuff like I do, where they say, well, there's still some of the Phoenix plate left up by New Zealand, and there's a piece of all the ancient plates here and there and everywhere. And I think what they're going to find out when they get far enough down into the mantle, that the Phoenix plate was too simple, the Izanagi plate was too simple, because they're going to find out there's all these. They're trying to make it all into one big plate, and they're going to find that there's a whole bunch of them, because that's how it is right now on Earth. So why would it be any different?
Right.
Because you have all these other small oceanic plates that are being subducted. So I don't know why we think everything was simple. Because there will be some that are larger, but there's probably a lot more that are smaller.
And when Farallon plate goes away, when the Gorda plate disappears, and that's going to be a major deal. Now, about 5 million years from now, it's gone. And the Juan de Fuca is nearly gone. That triple junction is going to be, underneath Lassen by then. And what's gonna take over? Is the subduction gonna take over, or is the transfer fault of the San Andreas? Is that gonna grow north? Because
you have
stop
axial seamount, and if it's high enough, will be added on. If it comes above water before then. But.
That'll come. That'll be another igneous province landing up on the shores up there, Oregon or whatever. I wonder what's going to happen in that area here of the Mendocino and the Northern Cascade, and then the strike slip of the San Andreas. Which takes precedence? A rift creates a transform, as far as I know. But I don't know what creates a subduction, and if a subduction grows. But if the transform disappears underneath the California, then I think the San Andreas goes with it. I just think it disappears. And because I think North America is going to override the San Andreas, but it won't be for another 5 to 20 million years. And what will happen? Will there be multiple San Andreases? I mean, what happens when it goes over it?
Well, technically there is multiple San Andreases right now, because all those faults that are northwest to southeast are
correct. They're all the fault zone. Yes, sir.
Yeah, they're all part of the same thing. San Andreas is just the big one everybody focuses on, but they're all. They even say that if you start reading about all those faults, they say, well, they're all part of the San Andreas system because they're all taking part of the strain, right?
All right.
So. It's just the San Andreas is the big one everybody focus on, even though all those faults that there are between San Andreas and the coast and off the coast, because there's a whole bunch northwest and southeast ones there too, they all can have sevens.
Well, see, and with that is the size. What's interesting is Basil said Baja to BC ended at 55 million years ago, but we're looking just at this image right now. Share this tab instead. Looking at this image right now, this tells a different story. The Pinnacles is moving north. That's Baja to BC, but in a different era.
Well, yeah, it's moving at
60 millimeters a year moving north.
yeah, according to how the Pacific Plate is
Uh-huh.
moving, basically.
Now out to sea,
Right now.
Pacific Plate's moving 90 to 100, but up against the shoreline, it's moving about 60, 65. North America in the south, in the southern Cal, is moving at about 25 into the Pacific Plate, and in the north it's moving about 19.
But we had other oceanic plates when Baja BC was moving north.
Yeah, right.
That's the difference.
And the San Andreas is only, again, 35, 50 million years or less.
And we haven't got into the other thrust faults under LA yet, because everybody's only focused on Puente Hills.
Well, yeah, again, but those are on the Pacific Plate, not on the North America. They're part of the San Andreas Fault system, or part of the Pacific Plate system that's grinding North America and tearing it apart. And I don't know, that's the boundary of the Pacific Plate, or does something happen? North America in some spots is moving due south. In other parts, it's moving northeast because it's being, corkscrewed.
Well, it depends on where it's getting pushed from.
Yeah, right.
From the Mid-Atlantic Ridge.
Yeah, it's like geologic Tetris game. Yeah, that's kind of why we're talking about it tonight, because some of it, it's not clear to me.
But the East Coast faults can make sevens too, but it just takes way longer.
Yeah, the East
time
Coast,
between the big ones.
Yeah, the East Coast is ancient stuff, and it's not active yet, but it can be.
Well, it is active. It's just way not happening as fast.
Correct, because it's not being pressed up against something. But what's pressing against it is North America, and the Atlantic Ridge is pushing it at some 26 millimeters a year, and that's a little bit compressional, but it's like North America is being pushed from two ends and grinding, because the one at the mean one, the Pacific Plate's mean, is eating it up. Baffin Bay is a transform fault and produced sevens. All right. We see a lot of activity out there in the Baffin Bay.
Yeah, well, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge can make sevens too.
Yeah. We once had a guy.
Not very often, but it can.
We once had a guy on here, Wally, and he was under the impression that the Pacific Plate came out of the Atlantic Rift. I mean, not Pacific Plate, but the EPR. And I found that interesting, but I couldn't see it. What's going on? But yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, I just don't know. I'm looking at nps.gov, and they're looking at different, rocks and minerals and fundamental geological principles, and a lot of what you look at this, how it does that, the folding. Oh yeah, magma being folded. Interesting stuff, to say the least. What the hell is this? Pretty interesting. Crazy stuff. Spreading ridge that creates the Pacific Basin. Yeah.
Yeah, and the EPR is also what's pushing
North and
Cocos and Nazca and plates under
into South America, yeah,
Mexico and Central America and South America,
and the Caribbean plate too, And not one of these guys talk about, oh yeah, everything happened around 50 million years ago. Well, okay, that's only 10 million years off something hitting the planet. They don't think it did anything. So starts down at the southern plate boundary and goes all the way to Salton Sea region. Yeah. I'm not. I think it moved east, but the other guy that came on this last week, he said he didn't agree with any of that. So the different riftings moving east, he sees it. I don't know how he sees it, but maybe they're different plate boundaries that were overtaken.
Well, they think Kula was going north, and then Pacific Plate was going north at first, and then something happened over on the other side, and there's all these debates about what caused that, and then that's what made it change. So
but that was
Pacific Plate's going northwest.
45 million years ago. That's
well, 45 or 50. There's all these debates on what caused that.
Yeah, over there by PNG, something happened there. Yeah,
because I think there's about 5 different theories on that now.
Yeah. Well, again, we've got 50 articles to look up, and I know you've read some of them, if not all of them. I've read just a few of them, but I read one today. I'll read another. I was going to do that, but I'm run out of energy. I'm burnt. I'm pressing real hard to get things done, but super tired. Time for bed. Take care, everyone. Thanks. All right, kitty cat.
Well, I don't think we ever solve anything. Just create more questions.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
but I think that's the same thing that's happening with all the scientific people too.
Did you see Spaghetti Head out there, Timmy?
And they're trying to use whatever data they're using to prove their point. Right? So that's what they're doing. So it doesn't matter if they're a geologist, a geophysicist, a mantle tomographer, whatever. That's what they're trying to do. Like what I think they're trying to do is come up with a simple way of explaining everything, but I don't think it's that simple because the universe is complicated. Or otherwise we'd have it all figured out already, but we don't.
Yeah. No doubt. I don't know, man.
Like we can't even solve war and peace. So how are we going to figure out how all those plates and what to name them? Because it all depends on who it is that's naming it.
Yeah. So what is the latest on Iceland so we can get that off our plate?
Well, it was bad weather today. They're super windy, but there were still people hiking on the trails going to look at what's left of it erupting, even though it's down to one cone now. And tomorrow Isaac is going to fly his drone, but he's doing a joint thing with Wilsey, so that should be interesting. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so Wilsey's going to be on at the end of his live stream, and then he's going to do an update and talk about whatever Isaac sees from the drone, because they're going to check all those fissures where the lava was running into. Well, I guess they have a plan for what they want to look at, but
there's a lot of cracks in the land, fissures. The uplifting is breaking it apart.
Yeah, because on his update today, Wilsey was showing on Google Earth, because somebody from Iceland sent him a map that shows like all the names of the fissures. So he was taking them off of one map and then transferring them, or I don't know how he's doing it, because he was showing it on Google Earth because
he's transposing them. Yeah.
Yeah, he had where the latest lava flow was as of 2 days ago, or yesterday, or 2 days ago, I think it was. So he had that on there, but then he could go and he could see the fissures on Google Earth, but he didn't know what the names of them were. So he went back to this other map that somebody from Iceland sent him where you can go in, and you can click on stuff and it will add like where all the fissures are and give the names of the fissures and everything.
Oh,
all the faults and stuff.
Yeah,
it looks similar to a map I've seen before, but it had way more stuff on it. So, and it was in Iceland because it was all in Icelandic language, so it wasn't in English. But it's because it was somebody from Iceland sent them the link to that map where they could go in and see like all the different features and like fissures, and they all had a name on them and whatever they were called and stuff. So it's crazy. Because he has all these people stuff. It's freaking wild. Like, I don't know how he keeps track of everything because like people send him stuff all the time. But it's like the same thing with Nick, because Nick gets overwhelmed with people sending him stuff too. So at some point you're just going to get overrun trying to keep up with everything. It's just crazy town. And somebody else, I don't know if it was him or
another wackadoodle at the Trump rally. Oh yeah, some hippie. Sure, that wasn't you, Tim. Oh,
why? Where's the Trump rally now?
Pennsylvania. Oh. Yeah, this one, they got whoever. Yeah, some wackadoodle. He's yelling at Trump. Whatever. You know, he's watching it out there going.
Yeah, so I don't know who Nick is having on next about all this.
I do. He mentioned it. He's going back to the elderly gentleman. He wants to talk about that Idaho slab that the guy says is a slab. He wants to revisit him. So, you know, that's going to happen.
I don't know. He might get stuck and not ever get to the Cascades.
Well, you know, these ones here over the last 6 weeks have been really good.
Yeah,
I don't know that we got into anything. Some guy climbing up on a. Yeah, he's surrendered. He's dumb shit. Some dumb hippie creating a mess. I don't know if he has any Jesus shoes on.
But what's weird, if stuff at the Goat Rocks was erupting 1 to 3 million years ago, that wasn't that long ago.
Well, you know, and that's what I like, because, you know, the Grand Canyon erupted 1 million years ago, or not even that, 1,000 years ago. What about all the sutures, not sutures, but the welding of through California, up and down the Walker Lane? You know, there's some volcanoes. You know,
and if Goat Rocks is supposed to be a ghost volcano, well, then why was it erupting 1 to 3 million years ago? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Right?
Yeah. Again, you're adding questions because there's no consolidated effort to join together to try to find out what's been going on in all these different plates. And we're not taking into effect what's going on the East Coast, you know, the East Coast of the or the West of the Pacific Plate, or the East Coast, right? But you were not taking into effect on that.
Well, there's volcanoes here too, just way longer ago.
I mean, think about it. We have Japan. You and I both have Japan in the same vicinity of some islands that are off now off the coast of Alaska, and both of those were way south prior to the Pacific moving up there. So that is,
and like I was just looking up the Black Hills stuff, and the Black Hills is like super old.
yeah, that's over there in Dakotas, right?
Yeah, because they're saying some part of it's 1.8 billion, and some other parts are 2.2 to 2.8. So that's that trans Hudson
Hudson, yeah.
orogeny date.
I think what we need to do is probably dedicate one of these rabbit holes to all the conglomeration of the orogenies, and the parts of North America, which is Canada and U.S. and parts of it in Mexico, and just take a look at the map, and then try to say, okay, this is this old, and this. Let's try to find a map that works together for that, and try to bring some consensus, I guess. Is that what I'm looking for? Or say, hey, look, this is North America. This is the ages of the parts of North America. And Cap brings that up quite a bit. And for some, they need that, and I don't want to keep overlooking it, because to me, I think it bogs us down. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, we could go into the individual cratons and all that stuff. But
that's what I'm referring to. Yeah, the individual cratons.
Location: southeast of Easter Island. Class: moderate. Magnitude: 5.2. Depth:
southeast of Easter Island. 5.2.
Yeah. Well, and now I'm watching Alaska. All right, I'm watching Alaska now. Let me see where this one is here. USGS. Of course, they don't have it. Oh, okay. I'll go to the MSC. So yeah, Nevada came in at a 2-1 right after 12 minutes ago, and the USGS doesn't have it.
It's on the West Chili Rise.
Yeah.
That's where it is.
Oh, well, then I've got to, if it was Easter Island, be one thing, but yeah, there's a lot of people trying to access it right now because it's just dead.
Yeah. So I would say it's either coming out of South America or going into South America, because that's that same line. If you
there is a Illapel, Chile. I don't know, 1,600 miles north of where that Chile Rise comes in. 1,600 miles north of it, central Turkey, Chile, Coquimbo. It had a 3.9 here at 18. Hold on, God bless America. So I got to put that on UTC. There we go. This one here is 103 UTC, and we are we're at 3 o'clock UTC, and right now we're just about to get another M. Pretty good M we had earlier today, and M almost, well, yeah, it came into a 5.51. We had 2 other M's afterward, and it looks like we're on the rise, but it just dropped down. We had coming out of a C6. So,
well, the West Chili Rise lines up with Hawaii and Kamchatka.
Well, I'm having trouble with the EMSC crashing. So I don't know what the hell's wrong with that. No maps. I can't get the maps. Sucks.
Well, if I'm guessing the triangles, the next one should be a Japan one pretty soon too.
I was going to say Japan or Kamchatka. Yeah. Or it could be even, Fiji. Yeah. EMSC.
It's going on break for the Labor Day weekend.
I guess.
Taking a break.
Yeah. Just like the USGS. So, okay. Timmy, thank you. It's 6.4 Papua today. So we got that as a triangle spot. Then we have the Easter Island, or that. I've got to say Mexico now. If I use that as one of my points, the Papua New Guinea is 40.
Well, I don't think Mexico will happen until September 19th because that's when they always get a big quake every year.
Almost every September 19th, right?
Yeah, right around the solstice. That's when they get it. It's like uncanny.
When is the solstice? On the 19th?
I don't know what it is this year. 21, I think.
All right. It's always on the 21.
Well, no, sometimes it's like the 22nd. It depends on.
Yeah, but yeah.
How
That depends. It depends if you're European or Canuck land. Okay, yeah, they've got it on there, but what the frack? 5.2, 17 kilometers depth.
Because they're all paranoid in Mexico about the 19th. That's when they have they schedule all their drills on that same day, and every day they go to do a drill, they get a big earthquake.
You get a big one at 7, yeah. I think, isn't that the same time that Acapulco went?
Yeah, there was a whole bunch that were all around the same date there the last few times.
I know, last 2 years. Like, hey, wait a minute.
Because see, the big Mexico City quake was in '85, was September 19th too. So that's the big one they started the anniversary on, and now ever since, especially the last 10 years or whatever, they always get like a 7 on September 19th.
All right.
So it's like clockwork. It's just kind of weird, but.
Let me see. Was it in 23?
So that's what I was thinking today when I realized today was September 1st. I said, well, if Mexico is going to get a 7, it would definitely be like on the 19th, probably, if it happens.
Right.
Because there's been no 7s that have come up since that Peru 7.2, whenever that was. We've had 6s. In Central America, but it hasn't really come up any farther than that yet.
Yeah, I'm not getting anything.
And they only have their 6s were the ones that are off Vancouver Island this year. So there's been nothing big between Central America and Vancouver Island.
Yeah, Acapulco was on 9/8. That's why I wasn't getting it. And then say 9/8 on 2021. Yeah. 2022 was right next to it. That was on December 11th. 9/22 is 6.8. In 22, just north of that. And it's just uncanny. 9/19, a 7.6 last year, or already 2 years ago was the 7.6.
Yeah, the Colima.
Yeah, it's south of Colima. Yeah, far freaking out. September's not a good month for Mexico. Oh my gosh.
Well, I know that's probably going to do the same thing again. We'll just see if it'll be on the 19th. But that's what I thought about when I saw September 1st today. And I was looking at all the stuff. I said, Mexico's due to have another big one. Just because it's September.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that happens.
May's another one. May's another month that has 3 or 4 larger quakes, 6 point bigger. Also, there's one December.
Well, California likes the solstice time too.
Yeah. Bing. Gina. Wow. How are you, Gina? Nice to see you. Let me see if they got it yet. Nope. Not yet. Yeah, I got it now. Finally. God bless America. 5.2 southeast. I mean, it's the chilly rise. I'm not looking for. I'm looking for Mexico, or yeah, I'm looking for Mexico for that. Well, from Japan all the way to Mexico, it's got to be on that side of the triangle, unless it flips around and it does the.
Well, I think Japan will be before Mexico, but
Yeah. So the triangle has to be there. It's either Mexico or Japan, Kamchatka area. That's what we're calling.
yeah,
But
so now we'll see.
we'll see. Looking for the triangles.
It'll be Haida Gwaii and Alaska.
No shit, right?
Charles Soloff.
Yeah. Well, we haven't had anything near Island of Pascal or Easter Island in a long time. Oh yeah, I know about. Oh shoot, sister, I apologize. I'm sorry your son has to have that problem. I have major problems. I got ice on my back and a muscle relaxer and Advil. Yeah, I'm in not a good way. But
Well, just wait till we do the Compton thrust fault,
follow.
Wilmington thrust fault, and find out they're all connected to Palos Verdes fault, because that's what I found out today. When I was
What happened in Palo Verdes? Go ahead.
Palos Verdes is connected to both the Compton thrust fault and the Wilmington thrust fault. So basically, they think all combined, if they all go together, it can make 7.8.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's all very exciting, but that's a whole other rabbit hole episode.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So they were all freaking out about Plenty Hills, and now all the new stuff is coming out that's saying that Wilmington, Compton, and Palos Verdes are worse.
Have you heard from that dude that's studying the Southern Cal? Have you heard any updates for him?
Which one?
Dolan? Yeah, I think it's that. Yeah.
Well, he's the one that does all the Southern California faults.
No, it's the guy who's out offshore.
Oh, the turbidite?
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as I know, he's still down there doing it. Because I haven't seen them say they're finished doing it.
Right, I haven't seen anything on his name on her yet either. I look every day.
Well, he made comments on the newest Cascadia study. I saw that. But then there's other people that are refuting the turbidite thing.
Gina, we're talking, oh my God, about everything. We're all over the place. We've been on an hour and 18 minutes, and
I'll just give some names to Earthmaster.
Go ahead.
Go crazy. And he goes, what? What are you talking about? And then he goes and looks up all the same things that I do, and then he all starts freaking out. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, make him scared.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't really get scared. He just goes and looks them all up because he's never heard tell all the ones because there's so many, right? And the thrust faults are all fairly new, right? They're all in the last 20 years. They just figured out that they're there. And they're finding out when they go back and study the historical quakes that are most recent. Like Northridge was on a Northridge thrust fault.
Mm-hmm.
And
they have all the data there from the drills.
Yeah.
And now people are, going through that data and sifting through it, and they're discovering these rifts. They've always been there. They've always had the data to show that they're there. They just didn't read the data.
Yeah, because everybody's worrying about the San Andreas or the Elsinore or the San Jacinto, but the ones that can make big sevens, just not very often. But when they do, they're going to lift everything up and drop down one side and lift the other side up. which is probably why all the landslides are happening in Palos Verdes right now. Because to me, that would make sense. If that's getting ready to move, that's why all the landslides are happening.
They had a wet winter too.
Because it explains all that in the studies.
Mm-hmm.
And talks about how they found out they all intersect because they're not all like a straight crack going down, right?
Yeah, Gina, we're all happy to see you. We have, you come back, I don't know, a week ago or something, you popped in. Always a pleasure to see you, Gina.
But we can talk about those ones at some point.
Yeah, another point, I know.
Yeah, get everybody in California all riled out. Although I think there's thrust faults all over the place because that's how you have hills.
Yes, sir.
You don't have hills unless you have thrust faults. So it's only a matter of time till you get a 7 from a thrust fault.
I live right next to a supervolcano, Peach Springs. And why it blew up, there's nobody knows why. And it had a bunch of these rifts, these little bubbles that came up through here. Oh, that's not too long ago. 17 mil. Why it happened, nobody knows.
Yeah, and I found out that I can't remember which one it was now. I think it was the Compton one. They said it went off. I can't remember if it was 900 years ago or 1100. So I said, oh, well, that's interesting. It's around the same time as all those other ones I looked up. So I said, oh, well, that's interesting. So, and they think it was like a 7 point, I can't remember what it said, 7.6 or at least. So under Compton back. Like they had it all listed. They had when all the events were. They had it listed by, I think one was like 900 years ago and then like 1700 years ago. They had a bunch listed. They had like a number of events and the approximate time that they thought it happened.
Right.
So kind of like what they have for Pointy Hills, but nobody will say when the last time it was. They just say it's happened so many times and so many thousand years.
There's parts of Southern Cal, like specifically where the last 1933 earthquake hit, Long Beach. It was actually Huntington Beach, right off of Brookhurst Street and the PCH. And we've done a study on I'd say
Palos, I think Palos Verdes' latest one was like 2023. I think Compton was 2022.
All the stinky
Yeah, and Wilmington was 2019.
Remember the Wilmington? Yeah,
those are all the latest studies on those that I can find.
Yeah, the Seal Beach has sank 7 or 8 times underwater completely and then lifted up.
Yeah, because Wilmington is basically where the oil field is. So it's basically between Huntington Beach and
Huntington Beach, all the way
coming into Long Beach.
Yeah.
And then once you get into Long Beach, Palos Verdes coming ashore there. And then when you go in a little bit farther, then you're into the Compton thrust fault.
Yeah.
And what they're basically saying now in the newest Palos Verdes study, which is the one from like last year or whatever, they found out that both Compton and Wilmington thrust faults actually run underneath Palos Verdes. So when they did the quake sims on it, since those two run underneath and cut through Palos Verdes, that's why it can make a big quake now.
There's also Cabrillo fault that goes right up into that area as well.
Yeah,
right down the middle.
But I don't know if it's not a thrust fault. I don't think
it goes right into Carson. Yeah. The Palo Verdes fault goes right into that as well. The Cabrillo fault kind of veers to the left a hair, and it's along the coast a little more, right up through the Palo Verdes Mountains, and that's probably the one that's, it's falling off of.
Yeah, because the old stuff said they could only make
Yeah.
sixes, but now they've
The Cabrillo is the one.
adjusted them.
Yeah, the Cabrillo Fault goes right through Rancho Palo Verdes. So they had a bunch of rain too over the. We didn't have.
And what was funny, found an article from June. I can't remember. I think it was LA Times or one of the other ones that actually explained all the thrust faults, but apparently nobody reads it because it basically explained all of them and had like all the new information right in it. And one of the guys that was in it was John Dolan, because he's the one that does all the Southern California faults.
Right.
And he's the one that's done all the work on the Garlock too, because that's the first time I found out about him. And then, well, of course, when I started studying all the other Southern California faults, well, then I saw his name on everything. Well, he's actually on the name with the same group of people that the turbidite guy is doing too. He's in with the same group because he was doing all the stuff off the turbidites off SoCal to figure out when all the big southern San Andreas quakes happened, which they only know 1690 right now. I haven't seen them say any other times.
Well, I mean, they have to guesstimate it.
Yeah. Well, if they're doing turbidites, they're trying to go back 10,000 years because that's what they're using to base it on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now the Japanese
turds. It's all about the turds.
Yeah, the Japanese don't go back that far. They only do 4,000 years, so they don't go back as far back with their turbidites for some reason. But it could be because there's people now that are refuting the turbidite data that say you can't go back that far with it because it's too variable. Because I saw that study today. I read more about it. So I understood what they were saying because they were taking magnetic readings of the turbidites. It's getting super complicated. These peeps that were refuting that you couldn't do it by turbidite because the farther you go back, it's too variable. Right. And you could only get similar ones if they were super close together. The farther you went apart, like they were arguing in the study that unless you, like all your turbidite samples that you're getting were with, they said it really could only be verified if they were similar, if they were within 15 miles of one another. But once you go between, like farther away than that, there could be too many discrepancies in the turbidite record.
Wow.
That could be from like other quakes or
tsunamis or whatever.
Yeah, other things.
Erosion, yeah.
Yeah, other things that could cause underwater landslides.
Yep.
So that's what they were trying to argue, but that's what Goldfinger, his thing is going back 10,000 years with the turbidites. Which I could see why they're trying to do that, because that's what the fault record, quaternary fault database is, right? Going back 10,000 years. So, in some of these new studies, they go back a little bit more than that when they do the fault studies. So some are like 11,000 years or 14,000 years or whatever. And then they, from studying the whatever fault it is, they say, well, this event happened at whatever. And then they say event 2 happened at whatever. And then they say that there were 6 events in 14,000 years on such fault. And that's what they're doing, to try and figure all this stuff out. And then they get the recurrence rate based upon how much time was in between them, even though they don't know for sure if it was exactly that or not. So it's all very exciting. And that's what they do. I just find it funny because when I read all these different things, I'm seeing them, the dates that they're putting there matching with all these other ones that they would think doesn't have anything to do with the other, but I think it does. So, because if some of those dates are matching up with my other ones that I've studied, that's probably not good. So you can figure out when it's making the triangle and act
Right.
appropriately. Because everybody's all excited about Cascadia, and I'll say, well, you guys realize that San Andreas went at eight-ish, like 10 years before that? And people go, oh, what, really? We didn't know that. I said, if it follows the same pattern, I said, there's going to be a world of hurt before we even get to Cascadia. So, because we haven't had all that yet, if it follows the same pattern. And there hasn't been a 6.5 in New Hampshire or a 7+ near Montreal yet, even though there's a quake there today. That the NRCan has a 4.6, but the USGS downgraded to 3.8. So it's very exciting stuff. And I guess it was far enough away, it never gave me a proximity alert because I never knew about it till later after I woke up today.
Huh?
But it would have been Charlevoix seismic zone because it's right in one of the suburbs of Montreal, right by the St. Lawrence River.
Yeah, that quake that we had up there in Canada today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought very, very interesting.
Yeah, because NRCan had it at
Yeah.
4.6, but then the USGS downgraded it.
Yeah.
But I guess 4.6 in Canada is 3.8 American, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. What do they say it here? 3.8 Pierreville, Canada.
Yeah.
Right between Montreal and Quebec, right between there. Now, Trois Rivières. They changed the Pierreville. They changed the name of it on USGS.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Well, it just depends on.
Because there is a Pierreville is right there.
Yeah, it's just a little suburb in between.
Yeah. Three Rivers or Troas. I don't know what Troas is in French.
Yeah, Three Rivers. Yeah,
is it?
Trois Rivières.
Well, it is what it is. Well, again, one of those times it's an hour and 32 in. I think I'm going to stop it here. We do have Wednesday night, so we'll see what's going on about Wednesday.
Yeah, who knows what will happen by then.
Yeah, and you haven't been with your doggies in a little while, have you?
No. Well, the kids are back to school.
Oh, they're back to school,
right? So,
yeah.
So they're gone all day, so I usually don't have to babysit.
I guess the solar flare we had today lasted over 6 hours.
Yeah, because they said it was like a long duration flare.
Yeah.
Whatever I was watching it on, I don't remember now because I watched so many different ones. I can't remember who it was that was talking about it. It wasn't Wages World because he hasn't been on for a couple of days.
Yeah.
So some of the other ones I watch. And I guess Ukraine's attacking all the power plants now in Russia, so they're going to be in the dark now too.
Well, Russia just dropped a 3-ton bomb on them. Yep. I saw that. I went, what the frack? Yeah. So I was like, what? Yeah. Iran's is talking now. Yeah, I don't know whatever happened to I'm a nut job, but probably still going on.
Yeah. I don't know what they're doing. Well, there hasn't been any alerts on my phone since this morning. And they only seem to shoot rockets off and do stuff early in the morning. Yes.
Yeah.
after daylight lately, and then they don't do anything the rest of the day. But I guess they don't have to. They just wait for all the people to protest and stir up trouble. Like what's happening in Israel, so the Hamas doesn't have, or Hezbollah or whatever doesn't have to do anything if the people are already rioting there anyway. They just have to sit back and watch. Because that's basically what was happening there up until like midnight their time tonight. And they're talking about having a general strike or whatever tomorrow. I think tomorrow. So all
In Israel?
Yeah, all the wackos. Yeah, because they're trying to boot out Netanyahu, I guess, which I don't think is going to happen. I don't know why you'd want to anyway, unless you want all the terrorists all rearmed again and coming back into your country.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what they're thinking.
I'm clueless, dude. I'm against the damn wars, but God bless America.
Well, what they want, it's the leftist side that was trying to get Netanyahu out before, because he changed the Supreme Court rules.
Yeah.
That's what they were all protesting about before, back before all this started on October 7th.
Oh.
So they've been trying to get him out ever since. So now they're blaming him now for what happened with the hostages getting shot as another means of trying to get the hardliners out of there.
Oh, good luck.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to happen because probably still the majority of the people want them to eliminate the terrorists and not negotiate with them, because they again end up right back in the same situation they were from 20 years ago. So that's when all this stuff started, when the Oslo Accords and all that stuff, and they allowed the Palestinians to operate their own areas, and then all they got from it was terrorist attacks, rocket attacks,
Yeah.
whatever else, right?
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything in Jerusalem now.
No, it seems pretty quiet now.
Netanyahu vows Hamas will pay a price. Yeah. I think they've been paying a pretty damn high price.
And it's like 7 a.m. over there now. They're like 6 hours ahead of me.
Yeah.
So it'd be early morning over there now.
Yeah, I watched a video of several of the drones going into Russia's oil plants.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa. Watch it going right overhead, and the guy's got it on camera. Flying pretty slow, but still. Big explosions in Moscow now. 8 hours ago.
Yeah, but they have like a long range, 2,000 kilometers or something, I think. The drones.
Yeah.
Like they're slow, but they're hard to shoot down and track if they go low.
Yeah. Well, all right. You got anything else you want to add for this evening?
No, I can't think anything else.
No, we're all over the place tonight. I'm still just beat. I took that muscle relaxer and I'm kind of out of it. Kind of lost it about 40 minutes ago. Where am I?
Yeah, here under the West Coast somewhere. Looking for a slab.
I went to I don't see the Cairo for another week and a half. Tuesday would be so a week from this Tuesday. So I was like, dang, I know what's wrong too. My hips are out of whack. Because I've been working too hard.
So
You ain't
your hips
huh?
Your hips don't lie. They're not fooling you.
No, it's awesome. Got to say it's the expensive bed I bought too, and Joe's joke. Here is the plate of spaghetti you got on your face. Yeah. No, that's him with his hippie hairdo. Yeah. And yeah, we both have spaghetti all over ourselves.
Yeah, he eats like flying hair on sandals or something.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Yeah, it was just spur of the moment. I saw a picture and I went, I'm going to do this. I'm just having fun with my brother Timmy. He knows. I don't know what happened to his other one. It got deleted. I probably deleted the wrong one. Oh, well. It is what it is. I don't have anything else.
No.
I think I may just go to bed. I slept 7 hours straight last night, and I think I'm about to do it again.
Yeah, probably.
Because normally I only sleep 3 hours. Got to get up, piss, walk around, so if I can go to bed again. And then it takes me another hour to go to sleep.
Well, I usually do 5 or 6 hours normally, but I did 7 last night. So, but my leg's all pretty much better now. So,
yeah. Did you ice it?
No, I never put any ice on it the whole time.
Gosh. Knucklehead.
Yeah, I don't do ice because I have ice here half the year anyway. So.
Yeah, but the ice is what brings the swelling down and the pain to dissipate.
Well, it wasn't really swelled. It was just my tendon was all between my knee and my ankle was all like tensed up or something.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what the hell that is, bud. You didn't do the jab, did you?
No, but it's like a high ankle sprain.
Yeah.
It's the tendon that goes between your knee on the outside right down to your ankle.
Yeah.
So it's like a high ankle sprain, but usually high ankle sprains are so bad that you have to rehab them.
Right. Yeah.
And it must have been for me slipping when I was doing the lawn on the wet grass on the hill out back.
Yeah. I told you, throw the Crocs away.
Yeah. Well, I was using my same shoes. I always use my anti-slip shoes. With my steel toes.
With your steel toes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they still slip on wet grass.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I assume that's what did it. Because when I went the next day to get groceries that morning, I was limping all morning. Then it got worse. But it was like that whole side of my leg going right down to my foot. And then my foot, from my ankle down the top of my foot, was killing me that first day. So I thought it was like the other tendon that goes right down the front. Because there's another one that goes right down the front of your leg into the top of your foot.
Uh-huh.
So I thought it was that one, but it wasn't. It was the next one. The one that goes
I wake up with shin splits at night sometimes now.
Yeah, I used to have them when I walked uphill for like 2 or 3 years, and I don't know how I did it.
If I spend time on a ladder, then I'm going to have those that night.
And it must have been from playing sports or doing something. Because it would only do it when I walked up a hill, like a long hill.
Yes, sir.
Going down a hill, it didn't do it. Yeah. And I had that for I don't know how many years, 2 or 3 years before it finally.
Yeah, I used to turn around, walk backwards up the hill. Because a lot of times that was easier than forwards.
And then I got bursitis in both my shoulders one year when I was shoveling off snow off roofs.
Yeah. How did you get your clothes on? I've had bursitis in my shoulder. I couldn't.
Yeah. I still did it because I do the exercises, the turning the light bulb thing when I was in the shower. That's how you fix it. You'll hear it snapping and cracking, and it like rehabs it for a bit. So I like do that when
I couldn't even lift my arm up from my side.
And mine still does it now. It'll snap and crack at different times. especially like when it's wet weather or cold weather or whatever.